Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again, and I am here to review Insidious 4. This is technically called just Insidious The Last Key. I don't know why they didn't also call it Insidious 4, especially because the last one, they just had to call it Insidious 3. You know, like for the third one, it would have made more sense to just call it Insidious Apartment Building or Insidious Broken Neck Girl. But they just had to call it the third one. And I think it had to do with like trying to get people to see it, thinking that they're continuing the series, thinking that this is chapter 3. So with this next one, they do the smarter thing and just calling it The Last Key. And yeah, this movie, overall, before I start to get into the notes, this was another kind of pointless movie, very unnecessary. Definitely just another movie that I was like, why did I even watch this? You know, another thing where I was like, you know, the first one was bad. It was very bad. The second one was pretty bad, but it was better than the first one. The third one was atrocious. And this fourth one is like in between. It doesn't really serve any function other than to give Elise more backstory and basically do the same thing that they did with Saw, where John Kramer's dead, so they gotta have stories take place in the past. And they're doing the same thing. Like, I just can't believe that after they did that with the Saw series, it was a huge mistake. They did it again, and this time they did it on purpose. You know, like, I don't think that the writers of Saw 3, I don't think that they purposefully killed off Jigsaw so that they could then go back in time or anything. But it's weird, because, like, in this series, they killed her off in the first movie. She was the best thing about the first movie, besides the part where Rose Byrne bent over in the kitchen. But, you know, she was the best part of that movie. She was the best at acting. She was the best character. And, you know, they really fumbled the ball again. You know, here's my advice, because I really could make another video based off of some very interesting stuff on Twitter that's been happening, where there's people who are now saying that you are not allowed to criticize any movie at all because filmmaking is really hard. And so, but anyways, we won't talk about that right now. Maybe I'll make another video about that, or maybe I won't, you know, because tomorrow is going to be the Ghost of Mrs. Muir, Safi's choice. But, okay, what was I going to say? I can't even remember now. Shit. Okay, here's my advice. Make a movie. If you want it to be a part of a series, make a movie and let people decide who's the best character, or who's the character that they want to see more of in the first movie. And then in the second movie, if that character is a character that you're comfortable with killing off, kill them off. But if you do a movie where you make that decision and you kill off basically the central character, I mean, and they didn't even have to make her the central character too. You know, they could have. I thought that the dad was the central character, the first one. You know, he was the character who was originally haunted by the tranny ghost, and he was the one with the power. He gave the powers to his son. You know, Elise didn't even come in the movie until, like, the movie was already more than halfway over. So I really didn't see why she had to be this, like, main character in the first place. You know, that was their decision. You know, they made the main character someone who gets killed at the end of the first movie. And yeah, so this movie, it's another kind of DLC. But, sometimes DLCs can be good. Sometimes DLCs can be, okay, too. Not all DLCs are like the one that I talked about yesterday. So let's get into the story. The first scene is about her childhood, and this was kind of like an interesting story, I guess. Not really, though, because it was just really unnecessary. Just like Wonka. Both of these sequels are basically like Wonka, but the horror edition. So young Elise, her mom gives her... this movie's already confusing me, because I can't even remember, her mom gave her this whistle. It's basically like a ghost rape whistle, where if a ghost comes in and rapes Elise, she can whistle for her mom to come help her. And then at some points in the movie, if the ghosts are getting raped in the further, they can whistle for Elise to come help them. It's like this little rape whistle. And it's another thing, too, where that this object that they show is going to be very important to the film. That it's going to be one of the most important things about the movie. Just like in the second one where they introduced that telephone game just out of nowhere. Kids don't do that anymore. They don't play that game, really, unless their parents tell them to. And then, of course, that played a big part at the end of that movie. And then Elise sees ghosts, and their dad beats them up. She's got a brother. The brother doesn't really believe in ghosts, even though it's clear that they're being haunted. And so the dad gets mad at the daughter, and he either beats her up or he throws her in the basement. And this is where Elise unleashes... She has a key, or there's a key or something, and she unlocks this door, and this demon comes out of the door. And I'm not kidding you guys when I say this demon looks exactly like Morbius from the Spider-Man comics. You remember how Morbius was supposed to look in that shitty Morbius movie? Well, this demon is like a spitting image of Morbius. The people who made this movie, they should have been the ones making the Morbius movie for Sony. Because they have Morbius on point here. This Morbius, he is creepy. He's perfect. His skin is stretched out, and there's pieces. It's so gross. It is such an awesome creature design. And it's really unfortunate that it got used in this and wasted in this unnecessary Insidious sequel. And she unleashes Morbius, and then Morbius kills her mom. And then the dad, he gets mad at her, and I guess he probably beats her up. And anyways, then she's talking with Tucker and Specs in the prequel world. And I'm just saying prequel world instead of saying modern day, because, it's not modern day. It's a prequel to the first movie. She's talking to them, and the dialogue is still terrible in these movies, because the Tucker and Specs try to turn on some lights, or they get mad that, there's no lights on in Elise's house. And this was a cringeworthy line. Elise says, "Natural light is better for the environment anyway." And then she opens up the curtain, and I thought, oh. That's the noise that I was making the whole movie. Ugh. Just totally, disinterested. Because I would say, too, all the people who complain about the Children of the Corn sequels or the Saw sequels, why don't you guys complain about this movie, about the Insidious sequels? Because as far as I'm concerned, the first two movies were the only ones that were necessary in the series. And even then, the second one was basically made to close up a plot hole that was unnecessarily added in at the end of the first movie. So, like, this never should have been a series unless they kept Elise alive. You know, that's my opinion. Because, well, also, they kind of could have had a series. Like, I just don't understand, and I'm still just very, very confused as to why at the end of the second one they set it up to where Elise, as a ghost, is going around with Tucker and Specs solving mysteries. That could have been the series too. And I still don't understand this abandonment of Jenna Ortega, of Jenna Overrated Ortega and her family. Like, I don't understand. Like, you had a story right there. That's the story that I was interested in seeing after the end of the second movie. I wasn't interested in going back in time, seeing some stupid girl who has, like, her mom died and then she gets run over by a car. And then I didn't care about seeing Elise as a child unleash Morbius, the living vampire, into the world. Like, that's not what I wanted to see. You know? And so then Elise gives an exposition dump. But this is the part, too, where I think that this part was very, very terribly explained and didn't really belong in the movie. It was kind of like a lot of the stuff in this movie just doesn't make sense. It doesn't really go together. It doesn't piece together very well like a puzzle, like it should. So Elise somehow knows that Morbius wants to use her powers. Number one, when did he ever say that? Like in the in the flashback, she never is able to find that out. Like, there's never any hint or indication that Morbius wants to use her powers. But number two, she was a kid. She couldn't do shit. She was getting beaten up all the time. It took her a long time to finally stand up to her father. How did Morbius not just possess her if he wanted to use her power so badly? And three, why would Morbius want to use her powers? Like, Morbius already has power himself. He already has the ability to fuck you up and to fucking... He's got keys for fingers. By the way, this demon's key fingers, they never play a part in the movie except for when he unnecessarily stabs this girl in the throat with his key finger. Like, that's all he does with those fingers. Totally unnecessary, which is too bad because I think that concept was cool. That was a cool concept to have, like, key fingers. Like, that's kind of creepy. But it has to make sense. I mean, it was a lot better than in part one, where you had the red demon, and he was like a toy collector or something weird like that. And then also randomly, remember how in the third movie, Tucker had a mohawk for some reason? Well, now Tucker has a mullet. So yeah, I don't know why they had to do that. I guess just because it's funny and it's quirky. You know, one thing that I actually do like, and I really do like Tucker and Specs too. I think that they're cool. I could watch movies with them. They work really well together. Tucker, in every scene that he's in, basically, he's always eating something. So, like, whenever people open the door to Tucker and Specs, he's always, like, chowing down on something, and he's got food in his hand. And it's really funny because it's like, they're not really making fun of him because he's fat or saying that, like, he's a fat bastard who likes to eat all the time. Like, it's just, like, a funny character quirk that he's always got food in his hand, you know? Like, in this movie, he's got an ice cream sandwich when they visit the house of the guy who's being haunted. And the movie starts off, and it's kind of like a bait and switch, where this guy, he says he's being haunted, and it turns out he is being haunted in Elise's childhood home. Ooh, she's going to have to face her demons. But if you think about it, the implications of that origin story really pissed me off. Because if you think about it, the implication is that Elise unleashed a demon as a child and then never bothered to get rid of it. So she put the lives of other people in danger. You know, the lives of people who want the people who want to go live there. After she left, she ran away as a kid, abandoned her brother too. She put all these people's lives in danger because she unleashed a demon, you know, and she didn't get rid of it as a child. So that's not really good. You know, she's supposed to be a heroic character. You know, that's kind of stupid. I mean, she could have just said, like, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to take care of it. But then that would raise the question, well, how did she learn how to take care of demons? And how did she learn how to get rid of bad spirits and parasites, as she likes to call them? You know? And when she goes back to her childhood home, the guy who's living there now, he was probably like the worst actor in the movie. He talked like really weirdly. You know how people in elementary school, you know, they're told to use their inside voices, and so like they purposefully like talk as quietly as possible, but if they want to yell at someone, they like try to still talk quietly. Well, that's how he talks. He's like, I'm not going to yell. I'm just going to talk like this. And that's how he talked. And like, I didn't know what he was doing there, if he has some kind of medical issue or something, but that was kind of weird. You know, like, it always seemed like he was like, you know, being told to use his inside voice, and he was just like really struggling to do that. And then also, years after Elise, her mom was killed, supposedly on accident, she's talking to another ghost. And this ghost, she's trying to get it to come out and interact with her little brother. Like, why would she be trying to do that? Why is she trying to put people in danger of these spirits? Put her brother in danger of this spirit? You know, it doesn't make sense. And then Bruce Davidson shows up. He is actually the brother of Elise, all grown up. And it's unfortunate because he's really wasted in this movie. He's hardly in it. He hardly has any lines. And I thought that was really unfortunate that he was put in this movie and then kind of thrown away. He's like a background character, essentially. And then I think one issue with prequels that are made after the first movie, which, you know, that's why they're called prequels, but one issue with them is that they'll use objects and technology that they never used in the original movies. And in this case, they have this weird, like, microphone device, and it makes people's voices sound weird, and it I don't know, it tracks ghosts or something. And they never used this device in the first or second movie. So, like, why did they not use that? You know, like, it's just so convenient that, like, every movie, they have, like, a new contraption that they use. They have some kind of new gimmicky thing that they use so that the audience can be interested, even though it's like, no, I would be interested in a paranormal movie that was treated seriously, that was treated like this is real life. I would be interested in that. Take away the demons, take away the further, take away all that crap because it wasn't done well to begin with, and just give me real life. Give me Give me The Exorcist. Give me, like, that type of thing. Make me think that this could actually happen instead of just doing this fantasy land nonsense. Because people can tell the difference. A lot of people believe in ghosts. A lot of people use psychics, including me. A lot of people have experience with ghosts, experience with paranormal. They believe this stuff. But even they know when they see bullshit. Even they know when they see stuff that's very goofy and you can't believe it. And that's what these movies, that's what they become. And then Elise also lost her rape whistle, her ghost rape whistle. And for some reason, all these years later, the ghosts give Elise back the whistle. And see, I was so stupid that I wasn't able to predict what was actually happening here. And still I am kind of confused because they just keep on taking away the rape whistle and then giving it back to them. It's really, really strange. But, in the last movie, they had that stupid thing where Quinn's mother wrote her a diary page where she told her how to defeat the demon, which was a very obvious way to defeat a demon with a breathing mask on. And that was pretty bad. And so in this movie, I should have thought, like, oh, is Elisa's mother's ghost, like, giving her the rape whistle to try to help her defeat the demon somehow? Like, I don't know. And I should have predicted, too, because at the beginning of the movie, it was such, like, easy to spot foreshadowing that the mom was like, blow this whistle when you want me to come help you. And I should have known that, like, later on in the movie, that's what they would do. And to be fair, I am more interested in this story. Like, I was more interested in this story than with the last movie. And I will also kind of applaud this movie because there's less jump scares than the last one. So I would say that, like, in general, this movie was a slight improvement, actually. It's just that it feels so unnecessary that I'm not really able to appreciate the bump up because it's like, I don't know, like, for some reason, like, if I watch an unnecessary Halloween movie, like, if I watch Halloween H2O, or if I watch Halloween Resurrection, I enjoy those movies. They're good movies, or they're okay. But I also enjoy them because I love the first one and because I love the series in general. But with the Insidious series, I'm not really a fan of this series. I think that the first one is kind of overrated, and it was a huge letdown based on what it could have been. A lot of wasted potential there. And then there is a really cool twist that's kind of ruined because they add supernatural elements to it. They basically say that Morbius is kind of like a plot convenience demon because they discover that this guy who's being haunted, he has imprisoned this woman. He kidnapped her. I don't think he raped her, but he has her chained up and for no reason, I guess. And that's another kind of weird plot hole that didn't make sense. It's like it was never really, like, any reason of why he had to kidnap her. Like, he wasn't torturing her, he wasn't raping her, he wasn't, like, doing some weird misery thing where he was, like, pretending like they're together, like in, Annie Wilkes. He just had her chained up. I don't know. Maybe he's a sexist and he thinks that all women should be chained up. I don't know. You never know. Never find out. But I really like that twist that, it was just this guy who's being haunted. He's also like an evil person himself, and he's a real monster, and he's keeping a woman captive. I thought that's actually a really cool idea for one of these paranormal movies to have, like, something that's actually evil going on, like Not that, like, demons aren't evil, but, like, you know what I mean. But they kind of ruin it, because, number one, he gets killed. Like, the Specs crushes him with a bookshelf or something. But then, number two, they ruin it by making it so that Morbius possessed him to do it. And also, Morbius also possessed Elise's father. And that's why Elise was abused as a child. And I thought that was dumb. That was very unnecessary. You know, you could... I don't know. That was dumb. And then Elise tells the police... This was a line that I thought was really hilarious. She says something like, I've been to a lot of haunted houses before, but this haunted house is different because it was my haunted house. And I was like, you know, that just sounds like the pitch for this movie. Like when the studio executives were like, how can we milk more money out of this Insidious franchise? You know, they took all the guys into the meeting room, and they said, we're going to have a haunted house movie here. We're going to have an Insidious haunted house movie. But you know how it's going to be different? It's going to be different because this time it's going to be Elise's haunted house that she lived in as a child. Ooh, you know, isn't that queer? And then Morbius basically has to take over the plot to make people finally do something to get rid of him. He silences and kidnaps one of the brother's daughters and takes her spirit into the further. And then also conveniently, the brother's other daughter is psychic as well. I thought that was funny and very convenient that, like, oh, of course she is. And at first I thought, are they trying to have maybe her replace Elise? Because another thing that I've been kind of disappointed by is not seeing the guy that has the word dice very much, or the letter dice. Because that guy I thought was, like, better than this new psychic girl. And I kind of like that guy. Now that I've watched these other two shitty movies, I was kind of missing seeing him. So that's another thing that was kind of disappointing. But it turned out that, no, they wanted to have her so she could go rescue Elise. It's really dumb. And I should also mention that the Mormons are now dressing like Mormons again. And the excuse is that Elise makes us dress like this. Like, that's the excuse. Like, there's no actual reason. Like, they don't look professional. They just look stupid. You know, like, if you go to the video store... Oh, well, they don't really exist anymore. But if you went to the video store and you saw someone working there dressed up in a suit and tie... You'd be like, what's going on here? Is this like a cult or something? Like, I don't know, like, what the hell is this? You know, like, it's just, it doesn't make sense. But then I did think that there was another cool twist. That Elise's dad, as a child, when Elise was a child, Elise's dad kidnapped another girl. And when Elise was trying to open up that cabinet, she could have actually helped that other girl, but she didn't know that another girl was in there. So that was kind of cool. But then I thought, you know, that's the key word, could have. She could have helped her. Because Elise, like with everything, she ran away. She ran away as a child. And she ran away from putting back the demon in the box, whatever, getting rid of the demon. She runs away. And then Elise becomes trapped in the further with herself as a child, which was really weird. And the Mormons have to hypnotize the other daughter to go rescue her. I kind of like that scene. I thought that was a good scene. It was pretty funny. And I also thought, too, we would have seen a lot more of this very funny and entertaining dynamic if we just would have continued off of the second one. You know? Like, it was really great watching them both try to hypnotize her because, you know, they didn't have experience with hypnotism. So I thought, you know, that was another kind of whatever, another comment I'm making. And Morbius is keeping ghosts captive in these little cells, I guess. So that's why he has the keys, but I don't know. It doesn't work because then he's also disguising himself as Elise's father. And Elise goes into his cell and she beats on him. And then all of a sudden, Elise realizes out of nowhere that the demon feeds on hate. Like, it's just a random revelation. And it's like, no, I thought that the demon wanted to use her powers. Whatever happened to that? Like, that plot just dropped off the face of the earth of this movie. And so then Elise stabs Morbius in the nose. I was really happy that that wasn't how he was defeated because that was dumb. But then she calls her mom's ghost with the rape whistle. And her mom comes, and this part's really stupid because it's another just random way to defeat the bad guy. Like, just, let's come up with the most random and easy thing possible. Like, it's not scary. Like, this demon isn't scary if you can defeat it the way that it's defeated in this movie. Just the same thing with last movie where, oh, it's a guy with the breathing mask. Just take the breathing mask off. That's really scary. Not. Her mom comes up, and she's got a lantern, and she punches Morbius with the lantern, and it makes Morbius be destroyed. Like, how does that make sense, guys? What does that mean? Like, who comes up with this crap? Like, what's the deal there? And then, yeah, Bruce Davidson and Elise make up. The ending scene is another unnecessary nostalgia bait tie-in where you see Elise, she has a dream about Dalton, and then she has a jump scare of seeing the red demon, and then she gets the call where she is called in the first movie to come help them. My grade for this unnecessary movie is Cosmic Oreos. We just got these, Safi and I, or they're called Space Dunk. Cosmic Edition or something. These are Oreos that have like this pink, purple, blue cream in the middle. It doesn't really taste different from regular Oreo cream. And another thing is that it has popping candy inside it. And so these Oreos, I think, are very unnecessary because there's no new flavors here. Like, it's not like a flavor combination. It's just regular cream, basically, with popping candy. And just like this movie, it's not the worst thing in the world. I mean, this movie was probably the easiest to watch between 1, 3, and this. You know, the second one's better than this, though, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I would never watch any of these movies again. I would just wish that they make a remake where it was a good movie in the first place, and then build from there. You know, that's what I'm saying, too. You can't build off of a poor structure. You can't build a series off of a bad foundation. You can't make a movie like Insidious and make a sequel to that. You gotta make a good movie first. That's why Halloween has sequels. That's why Texas Chainsaw had sequels. That's why Children of the Corn had sequels. Because these movies had good foundations. And another thing is the popping candy. You know, I dip my cookies in milk most of the time, like 95% of the time. And I'm telling you guys that this popping candy, you can barely tell that it's in these Oreos. And it just made me think of the key fingers of, like, you know, this movie's called The Last Key because the mom ends up, like, unlocking this padlock on Elisa's neck in the further, which was stupid and queer. That was dumb too. But, like, the popping candy is really unnecessary because, like, you don't get the benefit of the popping, basically. Like, there's hardly any popping candy too. It's like a little sprinkling, and I barely noticed that the popping candy is there. And, you know, this whole movie, like the marketing and everything, it's called The Last Key. You have this main demon, he's got key fingers, and you see on all the posters, you just see the key fingers because it's a creepy image. But it's not really integral to the movie at all. I was expecting some stupid thing of where, like, you had to have a certain key, and you had to find the key in the further, or some stupid shit like that. But no. So, yeah, I mean, this movie's not the worst. I never watch it again, though, as I said before. And I would just recommend you guys stay away. If you want to see a good modern horror movie that's like a paranormal movie, I would recommend Grave Encounters. That is actually a great modern horror movie. Or I would also just recommend Blair Witch Project. You know, I originally didn't like that movie as a kid, but I rewatched it in October of last year, and I really, really enjoyed it a lot. And I thought, like, wow, I really love this movie, actually. Like, I wish that there were more movies like this. Of course, there are kind of, but they all suck. And Paranormal Activity, I think, is better than the Insidious movies, you know, the first one at least. I haven't really watched any of the others because I really don't want to, because they kind of took advantage of that, and, you know, because those movies were cheap to make. But yeah, anyways, please like this video and comment and tell me if you like this one, because I lost a subscriber after doing the review for the third one. And so, like, I don't know, like, was someone, like, a huge fan of the third one? Like, it's hard to believe that someone could be a fan of the third, because the third is, like, the epitome of unnecessary. Like, it's the epitome of, like, why did they have to make this? And it's clear. It's clearly, like, just something that you could throw in the trash, and, you know, nobody would ever care. Except maybe the actors in the movie, because, you know, they can put that on their resume. I was in an Insidious movie. I was in Insidious 3. I played one of the bullies that called the girl lesbian friends. I was in that Insidious movie that one time. You know, that's what they could do. And then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest reviews. And that's what I'm saying, guys. I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to be like Chris Duckman, where I pretend like a bad movie is good because I don't want to be negative towards filmmakers. Like, fuck that. Like, you know, you're a critic, you're a reviewer. You have a duty and responsibility to be honest and to give good feedback. Because as a creative myself, as a writer, filmmaker, actor, director, blah, 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 scientist, whatever, like, I don't know, what else could I add on, like, I don't know, philosopher, dictator, warrior, power drill, I don't know. Feedback is the most important part of the process. Like, with the script that I wrote for this movie that I'm making right now, if someone hadn't have criticized that, then the movie would not have turned out as good as it's going to. Because that person made me realize, like, oh yeah, you know, I should do this, and I should add on this and change that. So, like, yeah, like, I don't know why people are trying to, like, push back against criticism now and say that criticism is bad when that's literally the most important part of the process. And if you're pushing back against criticism, then, you've got a problem, because, you're the reason why we have bad movies nowadays, because people are like being told now, you're not allowed to criticize a movie. You're not allowed to say Insidious 4 is bad, even though it's a piece of crap. And I didn't say everything was bad, too, about it. Like, I said the things that I liked, the things I didn't like. But, fuck it. Criticism is the most important part of the process. And anyone who tells you otherwise is a liar. So, yeah, goodbye, everybody. See you soon.